Hello and welcome, luminous beings of light. Thank you for joining me here at the SoulFire Alchemist. I'm your host, Dr. Beth. So I come today with something kind of exciting and different. It's something I've been trying to do for a while now, and I finally have gotten some technology arranged that I can do this for you. So we're going to be taking a look at the chart for the full moon in Sagittarius. And I've put out a couple of videos on it recently, but I really haven't gone into much detail because we've been on the tail end of all of this Taurian energy. And I'm doing a live Shaman Talks on Thursday night, which you're invited to. Come and sit by the fire with me as we talk about the fiery and airy energies of Sagittarius and Gemini. So coming up on Thursday, of course, we've got several aspects happening. This is a big energetic week. Some of these energies are subtle. They aren't things that you might notice right now. It may just be affecting the way that you feel, the way that you're sensing things, right? Maybe you're noticing a little bit of an alteration in your own internal self and the way that you are in your being. You might also be noticing something happening on the external part of you, or both. And that's what I want to talk to you about today is how the Sagittarius full moon is being influenced by Jupiter and the sun moving into Gemini on Monday the 20th, just a few days ago. Actually, that's yesterday is the time of this recording. We had the sun and Jupiter both moving into the sign of Gemini, which is an opposing energy to Sagittarius. So I'm going to share my screen really quick and we'll bring up the astrological wheel so I can show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I challenge you to go ahead if you're used to doing this. If you don't know, I'm going to give you just a little explanation. Bring your natal chart. So if you've got it on your phone or you've looked up your astrology before, and if you haven't done that, great. Now's your chance. So you can go, one of my favorite sites is astro.com. It's called Astrodensed. And it's a really good one to use just to pull up. Really, it runs all sorts of charts, and you just sign up for a free account. You put in your chart details. It's going to ask you, it's going to tell you to fill in your date of birth, of course, because this is your natal chart, this is your star chart, your time, and the more exact you can be on your birth time, the better and more accuracy that you're going to get, especially when it comes to things like the moon, okay? And your ascendant and the house placements and all of that. Now, for those of you that are new to astrology, it's really user-friendly. So as long as you have those things, and of course the geographical location where you were born, then that makes it all very easy. So for example, if you're born at 3:42 a.m. in St. Louis, Missouri, then you have everything that you need to put in details for your chart and pull that up. Okay. And so I invite you to come Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to SoulFire Talks, because I'm going to be going more in depth in detail. And we're going to be talking about some really deep hidden wisdom and mysteries as it comes around to your individual Sabian symbols, which is not a widely known topic or discussed. But this has been a lot of my work over the past half a year with James Burgess. You can learn more about him at jamesburgess.com. But if you look up Sabian Alchemy here on YouTube, you'll find his channel. And he talks about the Sabian symbols extensively. He's written books on the Sabian symbols and their interpretation. These come from L.C. Wheeler. I'm not going to go into that on this video. This video is for, you out there, my YouTube audience. I just want to, and of course, you guys that follow me on the newsletter or wherever you happen to be, Facebook, I want to give you a little bit of details and, serve you up a little platter here that's got a little bit of everything on it, right? So you can have a little sampling of what's going on. Most of you know full moons, right? Full moons are a time that bring things to fruition, right? So I want you to think about it in these terms. We have the sun, our sun, which is akin to your soul energy. And then we have the moon energy. And this is your lunar, your emotional being. So we're looking at a solar and an emotional beingness that is you when we get into Thursday night SoulFire Talks. But just looking at it in terms of your own personal chart and what house these energies are falling in for you is going to give you more of a complete story. and what you're dealing with specifically. So full moons are a time to release things, to let things go, for discovery. It's a time for, when the universe wants to peel back that veil that covers everything and it wants to show us something. So the sun and the moon are both the two luminaries, right? Watch me, I'm doing Gemini and Sagittarius energy here. I'll go more into that in a minute. That the two luminaries, right, of our solar system. So when we have a full moon, the sun is brightly illuminating that moon as we look at it up into the sky, right? We're looking at this full, beautiful moon in the sky. It's shedding so much light of conscious awareness, of things that were hidden in your subconscious mind. It's bringing those things to light. It can even reveal secrets, things that have been going on in the undertow of things that have been these subtle energies. It'll bring them more out into the open for you so that you can see them clearly. If you're working on manifestations or planting seeds at all, this is the time when we see things bloom. Look at, hospitals. This is when babies are born. Because if you go out to the ocean, you'll notice the same thing, right? It brings energy to a head. So there's like an orchestration energy happening every time we have these transits, and every time we have a full moon and a new moon, tides come in, tides go out. So this is the energy that you're dealing with right now today, and on and through the full moon in Sagittarius on Thursday, the 23rd, and for a couple of days afterwards. So every time we have a moon, a new or a full, you're dealing with the energies for a couple of days before they come and after they go out. So you notice it's kind of like it comes to a head at the peak and the pinnacle of that day, which is why I chose Thursday specifically to do this, because it is indeed not just on the day of the full moon, but another big day in the cosmos where we're having a sextile energy happen between Jupiter and Neptune, which I'll talk more about in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So this is a little bit more detail here, and this is going to give you just a sampling of what we're going to talk about. So hopefully you've got your natal chart ready. If you don't, hopefully you know where your sun, your moon, or your rising is. This is going to help you a little bit. And generally speaking, this is a general reading. So you're going to be feeling these energies regardless of where they fall in your life. And a lot of it's intuitive, okay? So you'll know just based on what's been going on with you, okay? On the screen, this is our full moon snapshot in the sky. So as you can see, we have the moon at 2 degrees and 55 minutes here in Sagittarius. It's just made its way into that area. Now you can ignore the houses for now because this is going to be different based on your own chart and where this is affecting, of course. But it's making this opposition, right? So that's what we have when we're looking at a moon and a sun being opposed to each other in the chart. You're going to be having a full moon. And the sun, of course, is at 2 degrees and 55 minutes of Gemini. And I want to point out for you these planets. So this is a little bit of a teaching video as well. Right here, we've got Venus at 29 degrees of Gemini and Jupiter at 29 degrees of Gemini. So as you guys know, we are actually, 29 degrees of Taurus. Now, as you know, we've had this huge, what we call in astrology, a stellium, which is just a jam-packed house. It's where you have 3 or more planets or points that end up being in a specific zodiac sign, right? So that's a lot of energy for that one sign. So we've had a lot of this earthy Taurus, very sensual, very, rich feeling energy around your resources and the things that you find beautiful and that you value. And, there's many different things to Taurus energy. I won't go into that specifically because you can go back and watch my new moon in Taurus that we had a couple weeks ago, right? To find out more about what that energy is about if you're interested. So I want to point out to you that we have dueling energies happening, right? And we especially have dueling energies this time. Why? Because the sun is just moving into this Gemini energy. Now, we have the moon and, of course, the full moon and Sagittarius. So these are opposing points. And so it's a perfect time to have this balanced awareness in mind, right? So that's our point with using astrology, I hope, is one, to understand ourselves better, and two, to come to a place of balance so that we're not living in one extreme or the other, because y'all, that gets hard. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't like it. Like, I don't like so much being in one extreme or the other. It's not healthy and good energy. And so that's one of the reasons that I use and love astrology, is because it's a perfect tool to show me where I might be out of balance. And this full moon will do that for you if you know what to look for. If you're willing to open up your spiritual eyes, your spiritual hearing, the senses of your heart, right? And you're really willing to be wide open to these subtle changes, you can. So Gemini, and this term has been going around since I started using it a couple weeks ago. It ain't because of me, though. I know that. It's just that people know in astrology that Gemini is about freshness and newness. It's about a fresh perspective. It's about having an appetite for more knowledge and communication. It really wants, it's inquisitive energy. It wants to know. It wants to discover everything. It's happy when it's learning, right? So that's a Gemini energy. It's akin to Sagittarius because Sagittarius rules higher learning and education, but Gemini is more about just talking, communicating with somebody that you love, or somebody new, a new friend of yours, right? Somebody new that you've just met. Member of the new community, you want to communicate with, you pick out one or two people there that you seem to just have this affinity for, and you wind up hanging out, talking. All right, so that's more of the Gemini energy. The group energy is more of Sagittarius, communicating with larger groups, right? So a big community that you might be a part of, or even if it's an extended community like your family, but you're on this axis, right, of that. Gemini really wants to participate in things, right? So with the sun and Jupiter getting ready to move, and Venus too, they're going to usher into this energy. You're going to be feeling more of a step in and a push in into this energy of wanting to clear things out and give fresh perspective and to be in a place of evaluation. Okay. And now, even though typically I would just be talking about the full moon energy, I wanted to give you a fresh Gemini-like perspective here. So talking about Sagittarius and this full moon, Sagittarius is about our hopes. It's what our goals are. It's how, remember I've talked about it before, that soft aim. Sagittarius is a centaur and he's taking the aim. Now, he may or may not hit his target, but he's ever refining. He's ever refining. And with that opposing force of Gemini, we're ever gathering new information to make a discernment about how to refine that shot that Sagittarius has taken, or the aim, rather. It's also, Sagittarius is about evolution. Remember, I was talking about that in the last couple of videos. Evolution, creativity, and freedom. Well, this is the evolutionary part of it. It also moves into some of our larger planets that I'll go into later. This is about taking aim, being disciplined, right? Refining that point. Sagittarius wants refinement and how it's hitting its mark, how it's making its mark. It's a Jupiter energy, so it's ever looking to expand itself. It's also the planet, especially in Vedic or Yodish, right? Vedic astrology, of his spiritual gurus, right? So this higher learning and education is almost, it's exactly identical to what we're doing with SoulFire Alchemy Academy, because it's learning deep inner mysteries, learning about the deep mysteries behind symbols, alchemy. What does it mean when we take these things and we put them together and form a more whole system through which we can actually learn and experience something new? That is the energy that we are in right now. It really excites me because I love it. I've never been, I always say I'm not that familiar with Gemini energy, but it's just so cool because I don't have planets there. But in reality, you never have an empty house, right? So I want you to look at the chart. You've got these houses here, they're empty. I mean, it's not that we're devoid of that energy. It's that we're dealing with the extremes of these here. Hopefully you can see my cursor moving over top of it, right? So the very fact that we have all this energy, we're dealing with of course, Pluto and Aquarius, and it's making this trine. See, it's making this, I'm sorry, a sextile over to Neptune. These are the big outer planets that I was speaking of in my earlier videos when I was talking about Pluto being this revolutionary energy, right? It's the ability to change and shift and transform. And Pluto has the attitude. I say that the planets have an attitude, right? They all have their own attitude about something. And and they change, right? So as they go from sign to sign, they change. So Pluto in Aquarius, and it's in retrograde motion. We're going to talk about this on Thursday more in depth, is going back into Capricorn. And so it's got this attitude of, all right, we're going to go back and check up on the Capricorn energy because we just made it 2 degrees into Aquarius. So how are you doing with those groups? How are you doing being your unique self? How are you doing with your freedom? Are you feeling liberated? Are you feeling like you've got a new way to go forward in life? Well, let's go back over some things, right? So this is part of what we're going to be discussing, because the subtitle rather of the SoulFire Shaman Talks is Sacred Alchemy of the Soul and the Stars. I think I titled it or something like that. But we're really focusing in some also on these outer planets of freedom, creativity, right? And that's Neptune. So we've got the sextile and evolution, which is Pluto. So Pluto is making the sextile to Neptune, the creativity. How are you finding the creativeness within yourself? What can you create? What new do you want to create? And then it's also making this sextile over to both, as of Thursday, the Venus and the Jupiter energy itself, which rules what? Sagittarius. Okay. So you see how this stuff works together, and this is why we call it alchemy, because we're looking at a lot of different things at once. But for our purposes, we're looking at how this is, and it's still in making this energetic force. It's close enough that it's making this energy with Uranus, which is about your freedom. So, but Jupiter's is actually wanting to expand on these energies, and hopefully you're feeling a lot of Venusian values of a love and beauty and harmony, right, during this time. And it's a really good opportunity to see where you might be lacking and where you need clarity and focus and where you need to put your energy, and more importantly, your questions, right? The questions that you ask in life are very important all the time, but this week specifically takes on lots of importance, okay? The sun is here also to bring this fresh energy in. And it just got through conjuncting Jupiter. And Jupiter's having a rebirth. But before he makes that rebirth totally, at 29, the last degree of Taurus, Venus has joined him. She's putting her arms around him, right? Come on, honey. What have you learned? How can you sense things better now? How do you feel right? How do you feel good in this world? How do you navigate through it with comfort and grace and ease? And that beautiful sextile over here to the Neptune at this 29-degree point is showing you the poetic and deep and very mystical spiritual nature. It's also showing you the ugly part of it, of how have you how have you like delusioned yourself? Have you been delusioned? Right? Have you been deceived? Well, a full moon's going to shine light on that for you. Venus rules relationships. She's expanding that energy right now. Asking the question, remember saying questions, are you happy in your relationship? Are you happy with the relationship that you have with the divine? Is it one that's allowing you to have your freedom so that you can creatively evolve yourself on into the future? Right? These are the big questions that we're asking right now. Neptune is also making a beautiful trine to this moon. So if you haven't signed up yet for Thursday's SoulFire Talks, I really encourage you to do so. Know this is a time to take stock, right? Inventory. Gemini's ruled by Mercury, the one who likes the calculations and the adding and the subtracting and the deduction. He wants to, right? And you might be feeling that energy of needing to do a tick off box, right? Am I good on that? Am I good on that? I need work. This needs work, right? So that's what this whole thing is here to kind of help us do. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and get back to you. So yeah, keep in mind, so the Sagittarius full moon is all about examining the mysteries, right? Your own deep inner mysteries, and it can be the external ones as well, what you're looking at around you. This is following that Sabian symbol that I talked about for the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that we had in Taurus back on April 20th about reading the signs, the holy dove of a troubled water. So this is very much follow-up energy, and those of you who watch astrology have heard this. So Sagittarius full moon is going to be highly philosophical. It's asking these big questions in life. It wants to know if its aim is right. Am I hitting my mark? Where do I need correction? Where do I need direction? Right? What's true and what isn't true? These are the energies of the full moon in Sagittarius. As my teacher James Burgess puts it so beautifully, the non-truth of truth and the truth of non-truth. Again, the sun just entered into Gemini, and it is a zodiac that represents duality. It's the twins. It's kind of like the Joker, and it's nightmarish energy, right? It's like the angel on one side and the devil on the other, and they're both got different perspective and points of view, and you want to avoid the chaos and confusion of not knowing which direction to go in. May I make a suggestion that you know and that you learn about yourself so that you can know which direction you even need to go in? Do you know the difference between what destiny is for you versus your fate? And if you don't, I invite you to come Thursday at 6:30 p.m. There's a link below. I'll also put it in the very first comment. Just click that link and it'll take you directly to the registration page and show up. You'll get an opportunity if you bring your natal chart for me to do some little personal reading for you and talk about some of the Sabian alchemy, talk about a little bit about the Sabian symbology of the moon and the sun for you, and maybe even just, some things in your personal chart. It depends on what we have time for. But I really want to talk about these planets and how they're interacting with each other and what they're filling our vessel with right now, right? It's like we walk around the universe and sometimes things are completely emptied and taken away. And that's good because it makes room to be filled with new things to think about and to consider moving forward. So keeping in mind that the sun's moving into this place of appetite. It's so funny as I talk about this, like I'm hungry, right? And really a mantra, we'll call it, or an affirmation rather, of Gemini is I really find life absolutely interesting. And I love to understand both sides of every new thing. Yeah. So if you find yourself in that position of wanting to look at all perspectives and you want to really learn how to shift your perspective from one place to the next to be able to look at something from a completely different point of view, well, that's what we do. That's what I do for a living. So you can book a session with me. I am taking clients at the moment. I got pretty full there for a while, but I'm opening some spaces back up. So I'd love to have you if you need some sacred mentorship and guidance along the lines of shamanic. and based in neurolinguistics programming, neuroscience, because we study the subconscious mind. And we study how that is interacting with our nervous system and how our thoughts create our reality, and it changes and shifts us from the inside out. That is the magic of it all, right? And so I encourage, we're starting fall classes. I'm doing a class with the Elven Mystery School, and we're going to be doing Elven Star Magic, and this is learning how to transform yourself. Also, I'm going to be doing elemental alchemy, shamanic elemental alchemy with my own academy. This is SoulFire Alchemy Academy. But SoulFire Alchemy Academy is blending and merging with Elven Mystery School. So over the course of time, as I receive my mentorship and working with James and teaching with him and bringing his teachings into the points of view and perspectives that we have here at our academy, which aren't so far removed at all. In fact, they quite lovely connect up. So if you have questions about the symbols, the Sabian symbols, I really encourage you to go and check out his website. And in the coming weeks, you'll see me, we'll be publishing some videos on his channel about the upcoming course that's going to be taking place as well on the Elven Star magic itself, which is highly interesting. Those of you who have come to see me in person here at SoulFire Sanctuary, SoulFire Ministries, this is one of the things that I bring up when we have our SoulFire Talks. So it's really unique and unusual that I'm offering an online one. I did one back for the equinox, but this one is also just as special, just because it's not the equinox energy. There's so much shift and change happening right now. And if you're a student of the mysteries, and you consider you're somebody who's got high intellect as far as what you can understand and take in and what you want to know, and you're always hungry for more, and you're looking for places and spaces that you haven't been, that's not the same old information all the time, and you really are looking for something fresh and new, man, do I have something to offer you. And I'm not saying that to be boastful. I'm just saying it because, heck, it's the truth. I've been doing this for 25 plus years, working in the alternative arts, the healing arts, and now the sacred arts. My PhD is in metaphysics. I have a doctorate in divinity. I've got too many certifications to even tell you about. It's ridiculous. I kind of laugh at myself, because I've just been working so hard for so long, and finally you just wind up with all these things. What's in a credential, but what you have learned and studied, right? And it perfectly sums it up, because we're a school, right? And we offer master's and doctoral programs. Now, there is going to be general studies. So if you really like the video that I put out on elemental alchemy and bringing shamanism into the mix on that, that's a topic of study in our coursework for the fall. I'm also working on an astrology course for you guys. But if you already know some basics of astrology, it will serve you. It's not necessary for the elemental class. If you want to join the one for Elven Mystery School, you have to go through an interview with James. So again, you have to go to jamesburgess.com and sign up for an interview with him personally, because he's our dean and our minister, and he makes the decision who gets to enter, just like I'm the dean and minister of SoulFire Alchemy Academy. So book a little, it doesn't take long, it's just a little short interview just to talk about what it is you're here, what you're interested in learning about, like what is it that your goal, like what are you working on, what are you wanting to complete or bring into your life, right? So if you're one of those people, then welcome home, right? If that fits, because life is interesting when we're free thinking, and when we can be in our think of a place from our youth. We can't forget that sacred wise child. If you want to go back and watch the video I did on that a while back, that was pretty cool. I think that was in January, February this year. Because our mood can become very erratic. That's the Gemini energy. But, I believe that Sagittarius brings a lot of stability with it. And so we can look how we can balance those energies out. And we can use the philosophical wisdom that we've gleaned throughout the years. And if you're not sure right? If you're not sure because you're busy looking at everybody else and what they're doing and all their content all the time, but you're not taking moments of reflection to really ask the question, where have I received this knowledge? Where do I have this wisdom? Where have I learned through my personal experiences to be a better and more balanced person and to refine my mark and my aim and my goal in life? Well, that's what this full moon is all about. So, I'll read to you just a little selection from James's website because the way he sums it up is so beautiful. Sagittarius is philosophical, visionary, tolerant, and jovial, right? Jupiter is my chart ruler in Yodish astrology, but also have in the Western astrology, it sits in my fourth house, so it feels very homey to me. It's in the house of Taurus for me. So I'm like the jovial teacher sometimes, right? And I try to bring this mystical sacredness into everything that I teach because it's part of who I am. I want to help you discover who you are. That's my aim and my goal. So it's known for its generosity, its exuberance, and its confidence. It's optimism, right? The glass is always half full. That's Jupiter. And it can scan the horizons of the future of what is going to be, and it has much enthusiasm about it. And that enthusiasm is so contagious, right? You just pick it right up. You're like, yeah, man, that feels good. Oh no, man, that sounds like that. I like it, right? That's the Jupiter energy. Loving sport, playing the chances, and generally being in the thick of it, it exhibits a natural and easygoing approach to relating. It's full of humor. It's got these pithy remarks and witty candor, and it's frank and it's blunt. You know, those of you who know me personally know I can be real blunt. And you know what, on my YouTube channel, I'll just tell you like it is sometimes. That's part of the, I consider it part of my Appalachian, roots, is just being blunt. But that's not always true, right? Sometimes it's just the essence of who I am. I'll just tell you. There's no point in not being authentic. I don't I don't personally like it. I like truth and I like things to be out in the open. Disconcertingly valid, right? So it's not concerned so much. It doesn't set out to hurt somebody's feelings, but it's definitely going to just say what it means and mean what it says. Not try to hurt your feelings. In fact, quite the opposite. Spirituality of Jupiter is very much about, leadership and guiding somebody spiritually, helping them have that higher learning, the real higher learning, right? The esoteric and divine wisdom, right? Learning about the soul and learning about what is consciousness. How do we relate to it? It is false to deny the sign's fiercer aspects. The mythological centaur was warlike and inspired awe and fear, right? Indeed, through acting with integrity, with a genuine moral code that underwrites all of its actions. Sagittarius can be very antagonistic, particular if forbidden the space it needs to expand. It needs freedom to travel physically. Don't haul me down and back. You can't cage a bird. It needs freedom to do its own thing. And that Uranus conjuncting it made probably something in your life feel, or you yourself feel like you needed to break free from something, right? This is a continuation and a smoothing over and a comforting and a pushing through of this energy. But it's softer. It's a little bit more gentle. It's a little bit more inquisitive. It needs this freedom to be intellectually and emotionally free. It needs to explore like the great pioneers who did all the expeditions of the world. Be the pioneer that does the explorations of your inner self. That's where divine wisdom comes from. That's a very Jupiter thing to say. It's a very Sagittarius thing to say too. But vision, right? What is it going to be like when I get there? Well, if not for these elements, we could not do manifestation. You have to have adventure, right? And these are the true indications of its essence, nature, right? Intellectual, emotional, being able to be free to be those things and to express and expand and explore, to ask those bigger questions in life. Who am I? Why am I the way that I am? How do I get on in life? How do I make the most out of my life? How do I make the most out of a really crappy situation? Right? Um, these are questions that are not just valid, but they are necessary for us to have quality of life, right? Quality of life. So there's an easygoingness, certainly. Jupiter's the great benefic, we call it. But he's also got his fierceness, or she, however you want to put it, the centaur. It was very warlike in mythology, and definitely did inspire awe and fear. After all, it fought Saturn. That's another class for another time. Astrological mythology. Yeah, so happy full moon in Sagittarius. I wish you all the best for it as we move forward, and I invite you to come along on Thursday at 6:30 and bring your natal chart. You'll have a remarkable opportunity to learn a lot more about who it is that you are and how you really should be moving through these energies. Only you can answer that question, but you can only answer the question if you have the knowledge that you need to base your questions off and to get the right answers. Okay, so I will see you next time. And as I always say, I'm signing off. Well, I will see you on the flip side.